All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Zivam's back, and in this episode, I kind of want to talk about I want to talk about money, and excuse me if there's interruptions or if I'm stuttering. Like I said and mentioned in the first episode, I'm doing all this in one cut, and I'm actually going to be separating these into 10-minute segments if we go over that time limit. They'll be in the same video, so you don't have to worry about that. But anyway, I was listening back to my podcast, the second one, and I realized, I don't know, this thought came to my mind about money and the stress that people have around money and financial success, or even just success in general, whatever that does, that definition means to you. And I kind of wanted to come on here and share my own experience on money and what it is, and being at such a young age of 17, almost 18, and the difficulties that come with that. And I kind of wanted to express kind of some of the ways that I've seen people around me come into money or actually go out of money for that matter. And what I've done being young, going around legal implications and, how I'm personally going about things and how other financially successful people have gone about things. And so I kind of want to start off with investing because, again, in my first episode, I mentioned how I'm an active investor, and excuse that ring. But anyway, how I'm an active investor in not only the stock market, but the cryptocurrency market and soon to be the real estate market. And there's a lot of things that honestly that go on with investing other than, chart analysis, fundamental analysis, stuff like that. You could get into a whole variety of analyzing different markets and with the stock market specifically, there's different taxes, on capital gains, and you can invest in this company, you can invest in multiple companies, you can do mutual funds, have someone else invest for you, or do private investing, or what, we call retail investors, such as myself, who don't invest on mass scale. So the implications that I've experienced are related to having a custodial account, which basically means that, I'm signed under, a parent or a legal guardian as a custodian. And that kind of winds you into a series of legal implications, not, I guess, technically related to stocks itself, but such as being able to sign, like, a title on a house, or, get a mortgage, or be approved for a credit card. And so with taxes specifically regarding investments in the stock market, we now have a future capital gains tax coming in at anywhere from, I believe, 40% to upwards of 53% on your capital gains. And I kind of want to talk about that because it's been a topic in my mind. Taxes and money and stuff like that. Taxes are a huge thing to people. Now, as an active taxpayer, I don't disrespect or hate taxes by any means. I think that some of them can help communities or your community or government, but I don't want to get into the political side of things. I want to talk about pure facts. And the fact of the matter is that has been, I guess, kind of stressing me out a little bit. Not really, but more of just been a topic of thought. It's been that the new tax laws within the tax brackets are going to be smaller taxes at lower levels of income and higher taxes at higher levels of income. Now, you'll see how this relates to investment later on. I'll get to that. But starting with that, you have lower taxes to higher taxes based on your income. Now, if you have this is very simple, but if you take lower income and tax them lower, they're paying a lower ratio of taxes than the higher, which, right? That's just a fact, which on large scale, if you were to do it at a large enough scale, could equalize. Now, this isn't how it is right now, but if you were to do it on a large enough scale, it could equalize the amount of money held, or AKA like saved by somebody, right? Now, that's all fine and dandy, except for the fact that you have people that are on W-2, such as doctors, that are getting those high. I believe that they may be not be fact actually, but as far as my knowledge, they're paying taxes and they're put on a higher tax bracket, which they're paying higher taxes for, which would then bring their income lower, which, again, large scale could equalize the amount of people take home, in quotes, money. And that's interesting to me Not because I disagree or agree with that. It's just for the fact that I know specifically people who are in the higher tax bracket who, let's say, run their own business, or, they could actually be in a range of different tax brackets. But for this specific example, are in higher tax brackets that actually don't pay taxes because they run their own business or they're involved in different things that could allow them to have write-offs, right? So, for instance, somebody has to pay a couple million in taxes because of how much they paid, but instead they're going to use a business expense and buy a jet and have that as a write-off. And in result, they are left with a jet and no taxes paid, right? Like I said, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with any of that. I'm just simply saying the fact and what I'm thinking about. So if you implicate this, large scale and effectively enough, you could then neutralize the nation's income to being a base level income, right? I'm not saying everyone gets paid the same. I'm saying they take home the same or similar or not substantially larger than one another. And then you still have these people over here that are running businesses not paying taxes large scale that, let's say, a doctor or someone who is. So I say that because as an investor, if you were to take a loss on a stock, or if you're been investing for a while, if you learn a lesson, right? Take a loss equals learn a lesson. That in itself could potentially be a tax write-off for you. Certain cars that you buy, if you're going to and from work, tax write-off. Assuming that you're your own entity under like an LLC or S corp or something. And becoming a real estate agent, I realized that running my own business, almost everything I do in regular life is going to be a tax write-off, because the vehicle I in fact use for my business, my everyday vehicle, is now going to be a business vehicle because I'm using that to get to my clients to and from the office. When I go out to lunch and I'm treating them to something, half of that's going to be a write-off, right? Because it's a business expense for my client. So just these things that add up over time, this is small scale because I'm not, in 6-7 figures as of right now. That's just small scale and how things could be. Now, in terms of cryptocurrency, that's where you get really weird, is because there's not like regulatory clarity in terms of legalities on it. So you could hypothetically have an investment expense where you write it off as a business expense for investment, or a business investment as a tax write-off. And since there's no regulatory clarity, you then put that amount into a different account where it can't be tracked, and then you're left evading taxes. Now, I'm not sure, and then this doesn't even sound illegal, so I'm going to say it's not, but it may not, it may be. But not paying taxes on capital gains is illegal. So you're left with people paying no taxes at all. And I want to clarify again, I'm not for or against paying taxes. I do pay taxes myself. However, I'm not advocating that. I'm just talking about this topic and just kind of elaborating on, its effect. And it kind of baffles me that there's these ways around money that, regular people may not even realize. Like, maybe these people just need to be, start up an LLC, get paid in an LLC, and they could, have substantially less taxes, especially if they're investors, because, well, as we know, 50% is a lot of money taken off of your capital gains. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this right here. We're at the 9-minute mark. I'm going to start a new section in just a second. All right, we're back. So anyway, going off on the taxes part, I want to elaborate now on more of the fundamental part of money and the acquiring of money and just how people view money. Now, money's always been a touchy subject for me when I was young, because I never had a lot of it, I guess you could say, relative to income levels on around my area, right? So I didn't. If I needed money to go out somewhere, it was generally birthday money or something that I got. I couldn't really get a job or anything like that. So if I spent all my money, I didn't have any practically, because there was no active income, right? That makes sense. So being so young, I was like 13 or whatever, I can remember. So I had to teach myself how to make money in that matter, and which kind of sparked the entrepreneurial side of me. And I say this because I am kind of, I'm sorry for that ring, but I'm trying to elaborate on this a little bit. I'm kind of against. I wouldn't say against. That's not a good way of putting it. But I'm not really, inspired by working for somebody, right? I'm not really inspired by having to, devote time, or, time that's not on my own schedule to something, right? I want to, I guess you could say, choose my own schedule, or pack my schedule how I want around certain clients that I have. This allows me to control my money a lot more than somebody on, let's say, like a W-2, right? And I just want to say that being so young and being able to build certain businesses regarding around Amazon FBA, or launching my own IBO related to foreign exchange market investing and stuff like this, I've been able to create income that I've been able to have potential tax write-offs on. Even though I was still being claimed as a dependent and stuff like that, and investing my time and energy and money into things that would further advance either my education or financial status further. And I wanted to kind of elaborate on what I've been doing to create wealth, because a lot of people choose the regular route, which, by the way, is completely okay, and I'm not against by any means, but have the general route of going into a job, of something where they're working, a lot of gurus or whatever say 9 to 5 or the rat race, and that's all great, except that I feel a certain passion to continually advance my education. And I feel as if I'm stuck in a field of working the same job every single day, maybe doing different things, maybe not, that there's little room to advance myself as a person, spiritually, physically, mentally, or otherwise. That's why I've been able to take on certain projects, such as launching my IBO or the Amazon FBA, or helping other people build their business, and even market a drop shipping business that I started on Shopify when that was hot. That was kind of similar to what I did in FBA. And it's always been about keeping my mindset right and being able to focus on my mental health, and that's allowed me to accelerate. And I wish I had someone on this podcast to talk to, but maybe in the future. But I can't understand how people cease to further themselves. Like, for instance, someone asked me the other day, they're like, well, why do you work out? And I'm like, and you probably heard this a lot from other gurus or whatever, and I don't claim to be a guru by any means, but it's not that I like working out. It's the fact that I was either, I was gifted this body, and I choose to keep this body healthy for sakes of becoming better, but also living longer and living better and being a better person overall. And it's kind of how I see my business side of things. It's like, okay, well, I don't just, get good at this one thing. Like, maybe it's drop shipping. Maybe I don't get good at this one thing and then stop, because that would leave me in this singular place where I'm an expert on, right? And that might be fine and dandy, but that subject to the world is so small, right? I mean, think about all the many people on the planet. If you're sticking to one subject expert in one field, that the competition that's out there is insane. I mean, it's one field. So if you could advance your knowledge into a different variety of subjects, then you're then allowing yourself to expand to other people, and then in return reaching a higher financial status and a higher, maybe even spiritual status. It kind of depends on how you look at it. Now, in the previous episode, I talked about frequencies, and I kind of want to combine that into this money series, because I personally believe, and I think this is a quote from someone, I can't think of their name, but where you can't expect other aspects of your life to develop if you're not developing yourself. And that's why I focus so heavy on the physical, side of things, and the mental side of things, and spiritual side of things, because I'm always trying to accelerate my life. But if I'm accelerating financially and, educationally on certain objects or subjects, but I'm not advancing mentally or physically, right? Then I may not be able to facilitate those transactions that need to happen. It's kind of like it's better to be prepared for an opportunity that isn't there than underprepared for an opportunity that is, right? Kind of like that, I suppose. And so with being able to do that, I've been able to prepare for certain opportunities and and in return outreach to higher networks and to higher financial purposes. And I don't know. And again, this is just kind of me talking and opening up my mind. And I look forward to having other people on this podcast where they can talk and give their input and, kind of where they're at financially. But I mean, as of currently, you guys are, anyone who's listening to this, and if they've listened to the first episode, they're kind of up to date on what I'm doing. It's all entrepreneurial based and, trying to achieve greater levels of success individually. And obviously, with the help of others, I would never assume that I can do every single thing on the earth myself. But nonetheless, trying to do it on a business level where I can, do it individually and have an individual income with that certain entity or, however I choose to go about it. And so I'm interested to see what other people have to say, So, yeah, I guess I'm going to stop blabbering on from there. But look forward to episode 4. We're going to be talking about possibly some more spiritual things. Or I don't know. Something might come up where I just have a whole episode of cryptocurrency. You never really know, I guess. But yeah, if you made it all the way through, thanks for checking it out. I really appreciate it. But again, this is Z Vomps, and I'll talk to you soon.